on Facebook to go turn it off. Excuse me. There's actually a privacy setting that allows any ad user. So if I'm running ads on Facebook, I can take any content that you put up and use that content as the basis, link that content to my ad and use that as the basis for pushing my ad to your friends. So if you put up a thing that says, hey, just saw this webinar with Mike Murray from Foreground Security, I can put up an ad on Facebook that uses that and link an ad to it. And there's a setting in the Facebook settings. It's under Settings, Privacy, Other, or something like that. It's very well hidden. That is allow my content to be linked to by ad developers. It's really sketchy, and it's just there by default because some Facebook ad buyers decided that this is what they wanted, and Facebook just went along because Facebook has very much taken the idea, taken the stance that users' privacy is their responsibility, and frankly, users don't really care about privacy. Users don't think about privacy. And from a corporate perspective, from a security perspective, these users are violating their own privacy left, right, and center. And I call it micro-information leakage because it's amazing. It is freaking unbelievable. If you look at the sum total of what any user puts together, no user would go out on their Facebook page or their Twitter page and give a single large monologue about all the security policies at their company, how their company does business, and, effectively their org chart. But if you put the sum total of everything that most people say together, you can basically put together a really, really big picture of their life. I talk about it often in terms of password resets. We saw the Sarah Palin email hack last year. For anyone who doesn't know how Sarah Palin's email got hacked, it was a particularly insidious hack. She had a Yahoo email address, and the password reset question for her Yahoo email address was, where did you meet your husband? Well, Sarah Palin had talked repeatedly in the press about her relationship with her husband and how they met in high school. The attacker figured out, well, okay, where did you meet your husband? Has to be high school. What high school did she go to? That's public information. Okay, try variants on Wasilla High, 3 or 4 variants in, have the right variant, reset the password, own the email account. Same stuff happens all the time. My bank, one of the questions that they always ask me is, what was the name of your first text? Dude, go on Facebook. Look at your friends. And just look at any of your friends who are pet owners. See how often they talk about their pets. I can go on Facebook. I was on Facebook, 15 minutes ago before the call. The first 3 things on my Facebook board were about how people's dogs were sick. How one person was talking about how much they missed their first dog. They named them. You want to go own someone's bank account? You want to go find the password reset question for someone's bank account? Go to Facebook. It's in there. I almost guarantee it. And what was the first street you lived on? All of this stuff. What was the name of your elementary school? What was the name of your high school? It's all in there. And users aren't thinking about it this way. Users aren't thinking, with every little piece, they're like, oh, well, it's just one little thing. Who cares? But one little thing plus one little thing plus one little thing on 3 different social networks, LinkedIn, Facebook, MySpace, Twitter, becomes one really big thing after a long time. If you want to know all about my life, go read the last year of my Twitter posts. You can follow my life on Twitter. No individual Twitter update will give you any interesting information, but the aggregate sum of all my Twitter updates will tell you everything you ever need to know about me. I am very cognizant of that. So I'm cognizant of what that picture looks like. Most people aren't. Most people are not aware, and especially most average users who are not security people are not aware of that aggregate picture and what they're putting together. And that aggregate picture has a massive impact on your company. I worked at an insurance company a few years ago, and I had my eyes open to this by one of the guys who I worked there with, who was brilliant and should, spoke at Black Hat about this a couple of years ago, but really had a real intuitive sense for the way that this worked. And we started looking at our employees. And I'm just on, I think it was MySpace back then, just on MySpace, people who mentioned the company name and the things they said. And the number of things that they gave away, again, micro information leakage. One person saying, oh, blah, 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 this, hate this call center work, hate that we use Avaya whatever in the call center. This Avaya software sucks. Well, all right. You just gave them a piece of our network map. And then this other user's like, man, hate dealing with Cisco routers. Okay, you gave them another piece of our network map. And just from one social networking site and a 5-minute search, we could start to put together a network map. You want to see where that's really interesting? Go to LinkedIn and search for your company's name and look at the descriptions of the jobs of all the people who work at your company. I guarantee you can put together a business process, you can put together org chart, and you can generally put together a network map. At the very least, you can put together a list of relevant technologies for attacking that organization. All in about 15 minutes. Great for me when I'm running a social engineering or pen test engagement against a company, especially like a true black box, you're an attacker type of thing. It's a gift. If I want to own an organization, I have so much information out there. We used to, back in the day, have to go on Monster to search resumes. And that was one of our information gathering things. We would look for resumes for people who worked at the company because it would always mention the technologies they worked with. Now, there's one site where everyone volunteers that information and leaks it out just for you. And each one person probably thinks, this doesn't give away anything about the company. That I was an admin in the mail group and that we used Exchange 2003, that doesn't tell them anything. Well, no, it doesn't. But when I also know that another admin was the guy that ran the SendMail implementation on the outside, and this is the firewall guy. These are the firewalls he worked on, and and so on and so on and so on. Each little piece of micro information becomes a very large piece of information about your company at the end. This is where the privacy violations start to get ugly, both from a user perspective, but also from the perspective of what your company's giving up. All right, I've been on here for 40 minutes, and all I've done is be negative. Let's talk about how to solve the problem. Like I said at the beginning, there isn't a solution. There's no box that you can buy. There's no software that you can buy. And frankly, anyone who tells you that they've got a software solution is a liar. There are pieces of technology that can help, but anyone who is marketing that they've solved this problem is a liar because we haven't even defined the problem effectively enough to solve it. So I'm the first one to say it, and I'm the first one to say I don't have a solution. I can help you put controls around things, but controls, we all know controls are not perfect. You can start putting controls in place, but it doesn't solve the problem. Only vigilance and monitoring solves the problem. So, 3 pieces. Policy is the first one. And this is where your business comes in, right? As I said at the beginning, with the fact that this is tipping, you're going to start seeing executives say, we're not just turning it off. A year ago, the whole thing was, just turn it off. Your business doesn't need Twitter. Your business doesn't need Facebook. Turn it off. That's not happening anymore. And frankly, that was never a solution in the first place, but it's really not a solution now because it's becoming a business use. So policy around Facebook usage, Twitter usage, social media usage becomes an important thing. First, you've got to get the business to decide what they want. You have to, as a security person, communicate the potential risk, communicate the trade-off, and work with the business to have them explain what risk they're willing to accept versus what risk they're willing not to, they're not willing to accept, and how much access they actually want to give. Do they only want to give Facebook and Twitter access to the marketing people? Okay. Realize that there's still trade-offs because people are going to go home and use it. And they're still going to leak information. Acceptable use policy, for each of the users. As part of your normal acceptable use policy, where is your stance for your users? What do they